Why, the first time I ate somebody's grief, it was an accident. My aunt, well, she had just died, and my cousin couldn't stop crying at the funeral. She clutched her mother's wedding ring so tight that her knuckles grew white. And when she hugged me, she pressed that ring right into my palm. I can't look at it anymore, she said. Just take it away. I slipped it into my pocket. And then something strange happened. On the drive home, a warm sensation was spreading all through my gut. Like I swallowed up a shot of good old whiskey. By the time I parked in my driveway, it felt freaking amazing. Wow. Oh, it just felt so great. This light, it was coming down on me. It was almost euphoric. Meanwhile, my cousin called to thank me. She'd finally slept through the night. It's like a weight has been lifted, she said. I didn't make the connection until 2 weeks later. I was stress eating at a gas station, some cherry cupcake of some kind, and oh, the kind with that nuclear red icing that stains everything it touches. The ring, it remained in my pocket, and when I pulled it out to look at it, well, some of that sticky icing smeared across the metal. Without even thinking, I licked it clean, and when the ring touched my tongue, it dissolved. It was melting like cotton candy. All that same warmth that flooded through my system, only stronger this time, much stronger. And it's then that I understood what happened. I mean, somehow I ate her grief. Well, 5 years passed and I turned it into a business. Well, not officially, of course. You can't exactly put grief eater on a business card. Oh, but word spread amongst the desperate. The process was simple. Bring me something that connects you to your dead loved one. Something that holds your pain. I consume it, and your grief disappears. I charge based on intensity. 1,000 for a parent, 500 for a sibling, 250 for a grandparent. I'll tell you right now. Pets, flat 100. The pricing wasn't based on science, but on how much grief would screw me up afterwards. But I didn't tell my clients what happened to the grief afterwards. It didn't disappear. It lived inside of me. I consumed the emotional turmoil and trauma. 78 dead loved ones. And each one had left something behind, a whisper, an itch, a memory. It wasn't mine. I called them the chorus. Most days I could handle them. They were just background noise. The mental equivalent of a TV left on in the other room, but lately they've been getting louder, more demanding. The whispers have become conversations. Conversations escalated into arguments and pleas had been replaced. The arguments and then pleas and then let us out, let us see them, we miss them, let us go. Well, I ignored them and I kept on eating. The warmth that followed consuming grief had become addictive. Better than any drug I've ever tried, and I've tried plenty. The business was just an excuse to keep feeling that rush. Ever since I was a kid, I had the same reoccurring nightmare, being trapped inside my body. Conscious, but unable to move or speak, while something else controlled me from within. I'd wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, grateful to be back in control. As I got older, the nightmares, they became less frequent. But when I did have them, they were more intense. The idea of and reduced to a passenger in my own flesh terrified me more than death itself. I'd rather cease to exist than exist as a prisoner inside my own body. I never connected these nightmares to my new profession. I never saw the warning signs. I never saw them until they were too late. On a rainy Tuesday, a woman, she brought me her brother's baseball cap. He killed himself 3 months ago, and she hadn't slept well since. She passed me the cap with a trembling hand. "Will it hurt?" she asked, her fingers still gripping the frayed edge. "Not you," I said. When she left, I locked the door and I stuffed the cap into my mouth. The fabric had dissolved against my tongue, releasing a bitter wave of sorrow that made my eyes water. I chewed faster. Sooner it went down, sooner pain transformed into that familiar warmth. Except this time, something different happened. As the last threads disappeared down my throat, I heard a man's voice, clear as day, said, "Finally!" Then, my hands weren't my hands anymore. I tried to move them, but they stayed flat on the desk. I tried to stand, but my legs ignored me. My breathing had sped up, but I wasn't the one speeding it up. "You've been so selfish," the voice said, "keeping us all in here, not letting us reach them." I tried to respond, but my mouth wouldn't open. Panic crawled up my spine as I realized what was happening. I was still here, still conscious, but I wasn't in control anymore. I was a passenger in my own body. My lifelong nightmare was unfolding in real time. The terror I'd awoken from 100 times was now my waking reality. "It's our turn now," another voice in my head said. A woman's voice, elderly, unfamiliar. "You've been keeping us quiet long enough." The next few hours were a blur, psychological torture. My body had moved without my permission. My hands, they opened drawers, they searched through the files, they found my client list. My mouth formed words that weren't mine. Practicing different voices, different cadences. The chorus was figuring out how to drive. They left me surface just enough to feel the full horror of my situation. I screamed, but they pushed me back down into the darkness. The claustrophobia of being caged inside my skull was worse than any physical pain that I've ever experienced. Like being buried alive, but able to watch the world through a window. At nightfall, they had a plan. I woke up in my kitchen floor, surrounded by shattered glass. The clock had said 3:47 a.m. I lost 9 hours. My phone, it showed 17 missed calls from unknown numbers. There was blood under my fingernails. In my mouth, it tasted like copper and salt. When I tried to stand, the world, it tilted sideways. "What the hell?" I said. The words, they felt wrong in my mouth, like my tongue had forgotten how to shape the words. "We've been waiting for this," a voice that wasn't mine said. It was coming from inside my head, but it wasn't a thought. It was someone else, someone new. Well, someone who could hold enough of us. Stumbled to the bathroom and I flipped on the light. And in the mirror, my face, it looked all wrong. My expressions, they weren't mine. My eyes focused and unfocused as if someone else was controlling them. No, I said, this isn't happening. Oh, but it is, the voice replied. You've been so generous, making space for all of us, and now we're gonna return the favor. My hand, it rose to my face, but I wasn't the one moving it. I tried to scream, but my lips, they stayed sealed. My worst nightmare had always been this. Losing control and being trapped inside while somebody else drove, and now it was happening. This wasn't a metaphor or was an exaggeration of anything. This was a literal manifestation of the terror that had haunted my sleep since childhood. It's come to life in this waking world. Don't fight it, whispered another voice, a woman's voice this time. You'll just make it worse. Suddenly, the chorus, it wasn't background noise anymore. They were front and center, rising like a flood, and I was drowning in them. I took my body out for a test drive, and I remained conscious for every terrible second of it. I saw everything through my eyes, but I was just a passenger now. They used my voice to talk to other people, arguing over who would get control next. My brother should go first, said my mouth, a voice that wasn't mine. He's the newest. He hasn't seen his sister yet. My head, it nodded without even me giving it permission to nod. 15 minutes each, said another voice, using my vocal cords. Until we figure out a better system, we'll each get 15 minutes. They would divide me up like I was a timeshare property. There was nothing I could do about it but watch. Suffocating horror of being reduced to an observer in your own life. It's impossible to describe to somebody who hasn't experienced it. My body, it drove to the woman's house, the one who brought me her brother's cap yesterday. Oh, the chorus, they knew where she lived because her brother knew. Well, they rang the doorbell, and when she answered, her face transformed from confusion to terror. Tommy, she said. Hey, sis, my mouth said in her brother's voice. I'm back. She backed away, shaking her head. Oh, you're that person. The one who took the cap. What are you doing? It's complicated, my mouth said. But I needed to see you to tell you it wasn't your fault. They were using me like a puppet, and I couldn't even scream. Every childhood fear, possession, every adult anxiety about losing autonomy, it was all playing out in high definition. This wasn't just a nightmare. It was the nightmare that defined me. The woman was crying now. This isn't funny. You need to get out of here. Leave. Remember that summer at Lake Michigan? When I pushed you off the dock and you lost your new sunglasses? I said a fish took them. Her face, it went pale. Nobody knew about that. I did. I do. My hand reached out to touch her face. I need you to do something for me now. What? What? I need you to give him something else. Something more. With more grief in it. I need you to have the grief for you to eat it. It's my journal and it's under my mattress. No, I screamed inside my head. Don't listen to him. But of course she couldn't hear me. Nobody could. I was trapped inside my mind. Don't listen. I was trapped in the passenger seat of my body, watching as they used me to collect more grief, more memories, more souls to add to the chorus. Over the next 3 days, they visited 7 of my clients. And each time, The newest member of the chorus took control to convince their loved ones to hand over more grief-soaked items. Well, some were suspicious, but most were so desperate to believe that they were communicating with their dead loved ones that they did whatever we asked of them. The pattern, it remained the same. My body would show up unannounced. My voice would say things only the dead person could possibly know. My hands, they would take whatever they were offered, journals, photographs, wedding rings, even clothing. And then my mouth, it would consume them and add a new voice to the chorus. Each new object I consumed against my will, the chorus grew stronger. I felt myself shrinking, compressed, smaller and smaller, to the corner of my mind. The nightmare was consuming me, becoming more real with every passing hour. By the fourth day, I only got control for a couple minutes at a time, usually when they were sleeping. And during these brief windows, I tried everything to fight back. Pain, alcohol, I even smashed my head against the wall, but nothing worked. They just laughed and took back control with their voices overlapping in a discord of mockery. The only time they let me surface was when they needed me to know something. Like tonight. So my body lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling with eyes no longer belonging to me. We're going to the cemetery tomorrow, explained the first voice, my cousin's mother. We've decided it's time to expand our operation. What do you mean? I thought at them. Fresh grief is the sweetest, said another voice. We're gonna find those in mourning and offer our services directly. No, I won't let you. They laughed. They thought that was so funny, a cacophony of unique tones all using my vocal cords at the same time. You don't have a choice anymore. You're just a special now. I realized they were right. I've been so focused on fighting for control that I hadn't even considered the alternative. Maybe I couldn't drive anymore, but I still could crash the car. Yeah. While they were debating all the plans they had, I reached deep inside myself to the place where my own grief lived. No, not their grief, my pain. I'd been running from that pain my whole life. I found the memory of my father's death, the overdose. I discovered it when I was 14, my mother's suicide. 2 years later, oh God, painful. A friend, he died in my apartment while I was out buying more drugs for his all that grief I never processed it, never acknowledged it, never considered. I pulled it up. I pulled up all this grief like poison from a well. And before the chorus realized what I was doing, I turned it on them. Grief is living. It's a living thing. It grows, changes, evolves. And when you feed it, it grows stronger. My grief is flooded through the mental space that this chorus occupied. As the grief-feeding entities touched them, they screamed. Entities unfamiliar with grief themselves. They'd only been the echoes the impressions left behind. Wherever had they been, the sores? Stop! Stop! They shrieked as my grief engulfed them. Oh, you wanted some grief? Here you go. All you can eat. I forced every painful memory through my consciousness, every loss, every regret, every moment of despair I'd ever experienced. I spent my life running from these feelings, but now I embraced them. They were my weapons. The chorus, they splintered under the assault, and some of the voices, they faded altogether, but other fragmented into whispers. A few of the strong ones, they punched back, they pushed at me, they were trying to regain control, but they assaulted, it weakened them. The very first time in days, I moved my hand where I wanted to, and I dragged myself to the bathroom, teeth clenched against the battle still raging in my mind. In the mirror, my face was gaunt and my eyes bloodshot, and I looked like I had aged about a decade. But they were my eyes again, at least for now. This isn't over, hissed one of the remaining voices. We'll wait. We'll grow stronger again. No, you won't, I said loud, my voice hoarse but my own. No, you won't. I opened the medicine cabinet and removed a pocket knife, the one that my grandfather gave me before he died. The one object I never consumed despite my grief potential, but because it was just so precious to me, I put it in my mouth. Cold metal touched my tongue. I bit down. I was feeling it dissolve. This time, instead of swallowing that grief, I focused on my grandfather's love, the pride in his eyes when he gave me this knife. It taught me how to whittle. Wonderful memories accompanied this pain. The knife had dissolved into a burst of emotion, but not just grief, but joy and love, pride and nostalgia. I realized my mistake all these years. Grief? It's not the pain that destroys you. It's all that love suddenly homeless pounding on your rib cage, demanding somewhere to exist. And by consuming only the pain, I've been creating these hungry ghosts, these fragments of people composed of sorrow. I opened my mouth, ready to tell them this revelation, but there was no response. The chorus had gone silent. For now, at least. The next morning, I purged my apartment of all the grief objects that I had collected over the years. Oh, not by eating them. I didn't do that. I'd never do that again. But them, not as being trapped inside me. Not as the people that they once were, but as wounds that needed healing. Both theirs and mine. And for the first time in months, I slept without the old nightmare. The terror of being trapped in my own body had lost its power over me, not because it wasn't frightening anymore, but because I had lived through the real thing and survived. I faced my worst fear and came out the other side. I stopped taking clients, moved to a different neighborhood, and changed my phone number. Old people still found me, desperate for relief from their pain, but instead of eating their grief, I listened to their stories, and sometimes that was enough. Well, sometimes it wasn't, but that was enough for me. It was honest work, at least. A week after my liberation, a man brought me his daughter's teddy bear. Cancer. She was 7. Can you take it away? He asked. tears streaming down his face. I can't live with this pain. I sat with him for hours as he talked about her favorite ice cream flavor, or the way she insisted on wearing mismatched socks, and how brave she was at the end. Before he left, I told him the truth that grief was just love that didn't have anywhere to go. That pain that he felt was the other side of how much he loved her. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. I'll keep that in mind, he said. She loved it. And you loved her. Keep the beer. Let it hurt for now. Eventually, it'll hurt less. But you'll still have the love. As he walked away, clutching that bear, I felt something shift inside me. A few more voices in the chorus faded, replaced by a peaceful silence. I still don't know exactly what I am or how this strange ability works, but I know what I am not anymore. And I am not a grief eater. I'm just someone who's learning, finally, to digest my own.